My 22,000 hours of experience with over 8,000 headache and migraine sufferers is that C12 is not often involved in spontaneous recurring headache. You are more likely to see C12 in cases where there has been some trauma. This is in accordance with a study done by Cooper, Bailey and Bogduk, and they used anaesthetic blocks of the facet joints in a group of subjects who were experiencing headache, cervical and shoulder girdle pain. And they found that in the headache group, the C12 was involved in less than 5% of subjects, and that the most common segment was C23. However, they didn't look at the 0-1 segment in this study. My clinical experience tells me that the most common segments involved are 0-1 and C23. Furthermore, my experience tells me that if you're able to reproduce the pain of headache from C23, there's a 90% chance you will also reproduce from 0-1 and vice versa. Now, in a study I did in the early 90s where I looked at the deep neck flexors and natural head posture in cervicogenic headache subjects, one of the inclusion criteria was that I had to be able to reproduce the pain of headache to confirm cervicogenic headache. And in doing so, I reproduced the pain of headache in 90% of subjects from the 0-1 segment. More recently, as part of my PhD program, and this was published in Headache, the Journal of Head and Face Pain, we looked at a group of migraineurs, tension headache and controls. And I was able to reproduce the pain of headache in 100% of the tension headache group and 94% of the migraine group. It's interesting to note that in 100%, in all of the subjects in this study in whom I reproduced the pain of headache, reproduction occurred from C23 and 0-1. This is not really surprising given the biomechanics. At 1-2, there's 45, 50 degrees of rotation, which means there's a relatively lax capsule at the 1-2 segment. When you consider there's only 7 degrees of rotation at 0-1 maximum, and similarly 7 or 8 degrees of rotation at C23, if you lose 3 or 4 degrees of rotation at 0-1 and or C23, that's significant for 0-1 and C23. That's 50% of the rotation lost. If you lose 3 or 4 or 5 degrees of rotation at 1-2, it's relatively inconsequential. And in atraumatic cases, it's likely that 0-1 and C23 will become dysfunctional given posture and sustained positioning. So the biomechanics alone would suggest that 0-1 and C23 are going to be more commonly involved in headache than 1-2, and that they do go together hand in hand. There's a 90% chance, if you're reproducing the pain of headache from C23, that you'll also be getting it from 0-1. 0-1 and 2-3 go together lots.